Okay, so today we're going to be looking at section 9.5, which is all about the different types of variation. We're going to talk about direct variation, inverse variation, what it means to vary jointly, and what a combined variation would be. You're going to need to be able to write equations for direct variation, inverse variation, joint variation, and combined variation, and you're also going to have to identify whether or not a equation that's given to you is direct, inverse, joint, or combined. So to start with, we're going to start out by talking about direct variation. Direct variation is really just multiplication by a constant that we abbreviate as being k. Okay, so it's multiplication by a constant k and a variable. So when you're doing these types of problems, what it might say is something along the lines of y varies directly with x. Okay? When I'm looking at that, the first thing that I see is directly. So as soon as I see that word directly, I should be thinking, okay, I need to be doing multiplication, because multiplication is direct variation. And I'm going to have to multiply by the constant k. So when we look at this, it's really y varies directly, means y equals, and then the direct variation is happening between k and x, so we would just multiply k by x. So y varies directly with x. So we multiply the k and the x, and the y is what's on the other side. When I ask you to write this out, or to tell me like what type of variation it is, okay, when you're looking at a word problem, they might say, just like we did there, varies directly, or they might say something along the lines of directly proportional. They really do mean the same thing, and they're still indicating that you need to multiply. So whether it says varies directly or is directly proportional to, that still means we should be multiplying that next variable by x. Okay? So direct is multiplication. On the other hand, inverse is referring to division of a constant, because we're always going to have that constant in there when we're talking about variation. So division of a constant k by a variable. An example of that might be something like y varies inversely with x. So again, when I go to examine this, the first thing I see is that y is the thing that's varying. So y equals. Now it says inversely, right? And inversely means that we're going to use division. So it's varying inversely with x. So I am going to take the constant and divide it by the variable. So we're going to take k and divide it by x, because y is varying inversely is division, so with x, so x is what we're dividing the k by. And again, when you go to look at word problems, the wording may be written slightly differently. So varies inversely is how I worded it just now. However, it could be also worded as inversely proportional. Okay, so we have to remember that direct means multiplication, inverse means division, and now we're going to look at jointly and combined. Now those ones actually take it a step further. We're still going to be doing multiplication and division, but we might have to do it multiple times. So when we talk about joint variation, a lot of times you'll see it written as jointly when you're reading a problem. And it is still going to be multiplication. Just like direct, it's multiplication of a constant k by 2 or more variables. Okay, so the difference between direct variation and joint variation is that direct variation will only be with one variable, whereas joint multiplication will be 2 or more. So it's still multiplication like the other one was, but now it'll be 2 or more. So an example of something like that would be y varies jointly with x and z. So as soon as I see the word jointly, I should recognize that we're going to be doing multiplication, right? So y varies means y equals, and then jointly means we're going to multiply k by whatever other variables we see. So in this case it says with x and z, so we're going to multiply it by x and z. And so that same type of wording, how it would be written, still applies. It would be the same type of thing. Varies jointly, just like I said in that example. Or you might see jointly proportional. Okay, still means the same thing. And the last one that we're going to talk about today is combined. Now, you might be thinking that because jointly was multiplication multiple times, that combined might be multiplication multiple times, but instead combined means we're combining the things we've already done. So we've done multiplication and division, so we're going to combine multiplication and division. So when we talk about combined, it would be multiplication of a constant k by a variable and division by a variable. So instead of having just multiplication or just division, this one will combine the two. An example of that would be y varies directly with x and inversely with z. So as you notice, it's not like they said combined here like they had been doing in other problems where it said, okay, direct, you'll see the word direct, inverse, you'll see the word inverse, jointly, you'll see the word jointly in the problem. You won't see the word combined in these types of problems. Instead, what you're going to be looking at is, okay, y is varying, so y equals directly with x, so we can say k times x because we know direct means to multiply, and then we're going to combine that with inversely, right? So if direct is multiplication, inverse is division with z, so then we're going to divide that one by z. So I'm not really going to write what's written in there because when we do combined, you're going to see a combination of varies directly, varies inversely, inversely proportional, directly proportional. Okay? So now let's look at the bottom where they're giving us example problems just like I had done above, where you need to create a general formula that expresses the relationship described by each statement. Use k to represent the constant of variation. So at this point, if I were you, I would pause the video at home, try it on your own, and then check to see if you've got them correct. All right, so you should be checking now. So A varies directly. As soon as I see varies directly, I should be thinking multiplication. So A varies directly with m would be k times m. Next one, B is directly proportional. Again, I see directly, so I need to do multiplication. So B varies directly, so I'm going to be multiplying k by something. And in this case, it says the cube root of w. So I need to write a cube root of w. Next one, D varies inversely, so I know I'm going to be doing a division problem. So D, and I'm going to be doing a division problem where my constant is on the top. And since it varies inversely with E, E would go on the bottom. Next one, T is inversely proportional with the square of X. So again, we're doing inversely proportional, so that means division. So T, we're going to be doing division with K on the top. And on the bottom, it is the square of X. Oops, sorry, that went dark for a minute. It should brighten up. So X squared is what we would put in there. Number 5 says I varies jointly. Now, jointly means multiplication with multiple variables. So I varies jointly means we're going to do K times the other variables, which in this case are R and T. And number 6, P varies jointly as L and the square of W. So again, jointly is multiplication with multiple things. So P equals K. Then we're going to take it times the L and the square of W, so W squared. All right, so at this point I'm going to stop the video, and then for the rest of the notes you'll have to go to the next video.